Hello everyone, this is Sufya Kamal in live mentoring session for sociology. All right, so this is our first session for the subject, and I have actually opened it for anyone who wants to learn about sociology. It's not just yes, yes. This is not only for GCSE students. It can be useful for anyone whosoever is interested to learn about sociology. This gives the basic ideas about what the subject is all about, and there are so many underlying themes of the subject that are very close to our life. There's so much about how people behave in their individual capacity as well as in groups, and what is culture, in what ways culture is relevant to the way we actually have our lifestyle, or how it is unique or how it is consistent in different societies. So let's talk about that. Let me give you a little info of myself. My background is my name is Sufya Kamran, and I've been teaching this subject for quite some time, 20 years. So, I my master's was in international relations. My major was IR, and it's if I can explain the subject to you in this way, that it's quite close to politics. There we study comparative governments. We study about constitutions, foreign policy, defense policy, strategic studies. So I never got the chance of teaching IR, but I taught history initially, but very soon I found sociology. And since then, there was no looking back. And I've been teaching the subject, and I feel that the subject is so enriching, so rewarding. And I've taught across levels, A levels. I've taught IGCSE O levels, and currently I've been associated to national tutors, and I have they have my full course on Cambridge International A-level sociology, and right now I'm teaching GCSE sociology. So, and I'm enjoying it a lot. So I would love if I take it as an opportunity to reach out to the students who really want to know about the subject, and incorporate in their life in whatever way they want to, or if they are seriously taking up the subject, my specialist or expertise, experience is there, my knowledge is there for them, so that they can avail the opportunity to use it. All right. So, what is the agenda for this particular session? This is the first session, and I'm seeing it in a long haul. I'll be, keeping the different sessions. This will be happening, by the way, fortnightly. Initially, like we have so far decided it. So, in this particular session, I'll be talking about something about the various fundamentals, or the basic ideas of the sociology as an academic discipline. Like, we'll be talking about what are social structures, what are social processes, as well as the different issues. And a very important part of the subject is that the students have to learn a number of perspectives, a number of theories, and school of thoughts, and apparently they look really really dry and boring, and students have difficulty in learning about these perspectives. So here I am with all those set of ideas. I'll be explaining, I'll be giving a very thorough description about every perspective, and then which will be followed by different activities. I'll try my best to, give you some a break in between as well. All right. So and side by side, I'll be giving you the advice how to handle the subject. So let's start it. So, who knows that what the subject is all about? I mean, there's a very, this is a sneak peek which gives you the glimpses of how and what are the concepts that we teach in sociology. We talk about socialization. We talk about, in what ways we as human beings develop into mature people. how do we become politically conscious, how do we become socially aware of the different things. So like this is basically the time, or this is the process that is called socialization. It happens in two ways. There's primary socialization and there's secondary socialization, and we'll be dealing with that later on, not in this lecture. A little idea will be given definitely after a while. And what is identity, in what ways we develop identity, who are we as humans, what is our basically what is our gender identity, or we have other identity caps as well. We perform different roles in society. We also talk about nature versus nurture. This is the underlying theme that goes on, and there's a debate between what is more important. We are biological beings and we are social beings as well. So like what is more important, what is more dominant, our biological self or our social or nurtured self? We also talk about culture. So like there's a lot of discussion and repetitive discussion on what is culture and what are norms and what are values. And many people consider all these words and they take the names in the same breath and they consider all are similar or they are interchangeable, but it's not like that. Culture is very different. When you'll be studying, you'll be finding that there are stark difference between culture and norms. Norms are very different to values. Norms may be the manifestations of the value system. We also talk about age and ethnicity and social class. So, like these are the identity roles or identity aspects of humans. Like what, in what ways people's ethnic identity or their age identity, to what extent that matter. In what ways the age brackets help society, and in turn how society benefit contributes to the different people belonging to different age group. So this is a little about what we study. What is sociology? So I would like to ask this question. What is sociology? What comes to your mind when, how can you define sociology? So basically, many people consider it's a study of society. Yes, that's true. Study of society is a very simple and a one-liner that explains it all. But it's basically a systematic study of society. Why? Because we see that people behave in the different societies across globe. We see that they behave in different ways, and we see people in communities in groups, and they have those structure those groups and humanities, those collectivities. They run according to some structure or some system. So they are generally called institutions. In sociological terms, they are called institutions. The different institutions, for example, we are very much connected to our families. Families are a very good example of an institution or a structure. Similarly, there are other institutions which work in a similar pattern or maybe different patterns, but they are structures and they are like schools, workplaces. There are political systems, educational systems, media. So all these are the structures, and this is what we have. Yes, social structures. The term social structures basically refers to the key parts of society like families. We cannot survive without a family. Families perform a very important, a very vital function of grooming us, raising us. And, there's a lot of contribution of our parents, of our siblings, and our dear ones who give us a lot of love and compassion and, making us, conscious adults or conscious human beings. Uh, we have schools as well. We have educational places, platforms. You can give your example. Maybe many of you must be doing it through schools, and some might be doing it through home ed. There must be still, amongst you, people who are homeschooling. So in whichever way you are learning or you are interacting with people, you definitely have some sort of structural platform. So this is what we call as social structures. Sociologists particularly are really keen to explore the relationship between these structures, like how does family background matter, in what ways teachers influence students, in what ways peers influence their own friends, in which there are so many ways that media influences us. So all these are the examples of structures that influence us and they have an impact on us. All right, there's a small activity, and this is about the social structures. You can see it, and let me just double check it. I'm sharing the right, yes, I'm sharing the right screen. Okay, so like social structures and whatever we studied, uh, in what ways social structures basically help us in becoming good humans. And there are some statements like A teaches, this institution teaches cultural values and prepares young people for work. What is it? Is it family? Is it education? Is it political system or criminal justice system? What comes to your mind? This institution teaches cultural values as well as it prepares young people for work. You're right. It is education. Yes. And this statement, this institution deals with lawmaking, governance, public decision making. What is it? Yes, you are right. It is political system. This institution provides emotional support, socialization, nurture, care. You're right. Family. This institution maintains law, order, and punishes crime. Yes. Only one left, criminal justice system. So these are some examples of how structures work. There are some, there's a, in every society, we see that, people behave in different ways. There are different cultures, people belonging to different origins, and they have certain ways of living. Now, this is called basically social processes. A social process basically means the pattern of interaction and the pattern of behavior and the relationships through which people, and they shape society. So it involves the ways in which the learning, real learning takes place. And there's a particular word for that, like socialization. As I told you, socialization is basically the term which means how we as human beings develop as civilized, sophisticated human beings. Like it happens at two ways: primary socialization, secondary socialization. Primary socialization happens or takes place during the early years, during the childhood, when the child, when the child is just born. From that time onwards, like 7 or 8 years, a child is quite dependent on family. That child learns everything from table manners to, way of talking, to greeting people, or to learning culture, to, seeing their parents, and their parents are like role models to them. So learning from them. So it is social, basically primary socialization, and socialization goes on. It just encompasses the whole life of people. From that time, from that point, secondary socialization starts off, and secondary socialization continues for the whole life, in which people get to know more people, more, wider group of people, peers, teachers, more friends. And if they grow up, they have relationships with others. They have all sorts of relationships. They have workplace relationships, they have romantic relationships, and they have, they marry, they take part in the political processes, become voters, become taxpayers. So this, the whole journey of socialization keeps on, and human beings keep on growing through this. So this is socialization. Another process, this is that socialization was one process. The other is social control. Side by side, we see that it goes on parallelly. Social control, just runs through. And let me just, yes, I think this is better. So, like, social controls mean in what ways we as human beings are basically allowed to do things, and sometimes you're not allowed to do many things. Like, like we do not actually, we can't say for sure, with certainty, that we can do anything. So there are some hidden, some tacit type of, you can say, rules, guidelines, or restrictions that actually do not allow us to be completely, to be completely free to do whatever we want to. So, like, this is called social control. This is a kind of a mechanism that runs alongside socialization. And in this, sociologists investigate how control is basically exercised. And we see that we are basically, in many ways, the social control system can be hidden, like it can be very apparent. Like we see our parents, having some sort of authority over us, teachers having some sort of authority over us, school administration has some sort of dominance over us, and there are other people, like we have elders and we have seniors. But at the same time, we can also in turn become the people, or become those agents of can become the part of that particular process or journey, in which we become the lawmakers or the decision makers. So this is all about that. And so in this social process, we see that many, in many ways, societies have different tactics, they have different instruments, they have different mechanisms to control people, and it is useful for us, like policing system, like justice system, like a system where we do have uh, I can say, like a checks and balances, where people are answerable to some authorities. So this is how it goes about. Let's move on to another thing, and that is social issues. Now, we do have many problems in societies. Like all societies, we can't say are not ideal. There are many issues, there are many problems. We can say them as, consider them as social problems. Like there are different communities. Specifically, if we take the example of Britain, there are so many, because of multiculturalism, constant immigration, and many other factors. Because of that, we see that the society is not static. It has not remained as similar. It has become quite dynamic. So there are good points. There are some points that really bother us. So like we do come across such problems which are called social issues. And that means that many families, many communities, they basically experience different types of behaviors. Like we see that there are people who are subject to basically issues like ageism, sexism, racial discrimination, as well as poverty or domestic violence or hate crime. You see, there's a theme behind it, and that is, the society has many different kind of layers, where all the people are not similar. People are different. You see inequality between people. You see the first inequality that you see is between, social class. There are, in every society, you'll be finding that there are different people belonging to different economic groups. Some people are really rich, some people are not that rich, some people are really poor, and they're called culturally deprived people. So these are the problems. This is called inequality. Inequality also takes place at the level of gender. Men and women are different, or they are not supposed to be different. These are the questions that we ask, and these are sometimes these all these topics, they become social issues. And so like there are, all these things are basically, we see that, as I was telling you, there are different layers within the society of inequality, of opportunity. For some people, the inequality of others can become their own opportunity. Like if I talk about, or give you an example of relationships on the basis of money, or income relationships. So if we see there's a hierarchy or there's a ranking between people, there are many people who work for the others. So there are some people, for them it is an opportunity that they have so much of workforce for them, to serve them. So for someone's inequality or someone's deprivation becomes the other person's opportunity. So this is how these are the issues that we see. Poverty, domestic violence, hate crimes. Yes, we do come across all these issues in a society, particularly a society that is as dynamic as Britain. So like these are all, this is one of the focal theme of sociology as well. Now, my main agenda is to give you a very thorough background of the sociologists who have actually contributed to the subject. And let me check if there is someone. It's okay. It's okay, no problem, no problem. All right, so these are the sociologists, prominent people who contributed to the subject, and who actually gave very enlightening ideas, shed a lot of light, gave the subject a lot of richness. And we see that the subject has, come of an age. It is quite developed. It's quite you can say that this subject basically, this can be related or can be felt as relatable to, students of history, students of politics, Even students of sciences can find this subject really relevant and useful. All right. So like talking about the prominent sociologists, these are the ones like the first picture. I'm not going to talk about all of them definitely. I'll be giving you some ideas of some perspectives that are basic, basically. All right. So like this is August Comte, who was the founder of sociology. He was the one, he's credited with the coining of the name of sociology from the two words socio and logos. Socio means society, logos means, these are the Greek words. Logos means knowledge, knowledge of society. So we're not going to talk about it. We'll be definitely talking about him in research matters after maybe some sessions. Emil Durkheim. Yes, I'm going to talk about Emil Durkheim, a German sociologist, was the first, can be termed as one of the pioneers of the subject. Karl Marx, again, one of the founders of the subject, although he was not a sociologist, but we take his references, we take his analysis and writings very seriously. Max Weber, we're going to talk about him as well later on. And George Herbert Mead, Interactionism. So let's talk about perspectives. First of all, what are perspectives? You see, I compare perspectives with a pair of glasses. You know, consider you're wearing tinted glasses, and you're seeing the picture or the scenario from your lens, and that is colored or tinted. If they are pink, you'll be seeing a little bit of pink, manifestation of whatever you're looking at. So perspective basically are the set of ideas, basically they are theories or school of thought. So they are viewpoint which help us to explain the world. But if I give you the example of the glasses, there are different perspectives like functionalism. Functionalists see society as harmonious, having consensus, having a lot of collaboration and coordination. So if you see the functionalist specs, you'll see coordination within the society. Marxists see, so in society, they see conflict on the basis of class. So if you wear the conflict glasses, your conflict glasses or your Marxist lenses will give you the image will be of conflict between classes, the different social groups. Feminist, they see conflict between men and women. So like this is a simple definition of perspectives. Or they are very important, remember you can't evade them. You have to study all these perspectives so that you'll be able to. I'll be explaining to you in detail later on the different sessions, in what ways these perspectives are basically very integral to your learning journey, really. All right. So, like the first one is functionalism. This is the person who's the forerunner, who's the founder of this perspective. And as I told you, his name is Emil Durkheim. So functionalism, as the name suggests that there's a word function in. So like all the functionalists mostly, uh, Emil Durkheim basically particularly, they see society having different institutions performing useful functions. Like as you know, this theory, functionalism developed by Durkheim, they see society as a system of interrelated institutions working together in collaboration just like human body, like organs in a body, society exists beyond individuals and shapes their behavior through a shared culture or value consensus. So Durkheim talks a lot about consensus, agreement, unity, some sort of understanding between individuals on the basis of which there's some moral code, there's some sort of ethical code on the basis of the which integrates or gels the society, the members of society together. So if we see there's a lot of emphasis on institutions and functionalism, like all these institutions like family, education, workplace, they promote socialization, they promote harmony, a sort of integration and solidarity. So the main features of functionalism are consensus, social integration, collective consciousness, social solidarity, as well as there's a reference from biology. So if I give you a little history of functionalism. So functionalists were the earliest sociologists and they were really inspired with sciences. So in the beginning, when, in the 18th, 17th and 18th centuries, there was a lot of development of sciences. Sciences were thriving like chemistry, biology, geology. So these were the ones who were really inspired. And this is the reason why Durkheim also gives a reference from biology. He says that society is just like human body, and just like in human body, different organs integrate, and their health is it basically guarantees the health of the overall body, or the well-being of the overall body. Just like that, just like that, the institutions of the society also work together. I'm giving you this idea. Yes, this is the word social. He uses the word social solidarity. I'm giving you the organic analogy. Yes, the biological analogy or organic analogy. So Durkheim gives this idea. He says that to understand functionalism, biological or organic analogy can be used. So in other words, we can compare society to human body. Excuse me. So the organic analogy compares society to a living organism. You can see that we have different parts of the body like brain, lungs, heart, skin, bones, kidneys. So how do we basically, what is the most important or the vital part of the human body? Is it the heart or the lungs or the brain? I think all of them. Right. So like this organic analogy compares society to a living organism where different institutions like family, education, government functions like organs in the human body. So this is a very good example. Again, going back, Durkheim's idea of what is unity. So he gives a key term for that, a key concept in functionalism, and that is like unity or togetherness can be seen through social solidarity. He emphasized the importance of social solidarity, in which he says that this is the thing that basically glues the people together. The people of the society are gelled together. He identified two types of solidarity: mechanical solidarity and organic solidarity. And I'm just giving you the idea. These are the details, like you see in the villages or the rural side or countryside, people are really, gelled together more, and like they have more of dependence on each other. So many things are done by all the people, and they do multitasking. A lot of multitasking is done. That is called mechanical solidarity. And in pre-industrial India, it so happened that people used to work for each other. Like the farmer could cobble the shoes, so the farmer could make pottery. Could do pottery, and there were so many in the pre-industrial times, the older times. People could, the traditional setups where they used to work in farmland fields. They have similar, culture system. They were quite, united, and this was the word, solidarity could be seen at time. And they had extended setups mostly. But in cities or in the urban center, the more development took place, the more urbanized the societies became. So there was more of unity. Yes, there is unity, there is consensus, but it's of different level. It's called organic solidarity. Why? Because of the reason that because people in cities are more, you can say, there's more of division of labor between people. There's more of division of expertise. There are different people, like you have stylists, you have drapers, you have clothing artists, you have people who sell very fine crockery. So there are different tasks and different expertise in the cities. So this is but they are dependent on each other. There is a certain type of interdependence in the cities and the urban centers too. But this is the whole idea of solidarity that Durkheim talked about. I gave you the organic analogy thing. Now, a new perspective, and that is Marxism. Now, Marxism is basically what we call Marxism is basically um, perspective or a school of thought that is a combination or a collection of the writings of Karl Marx. And Marxism did not remain, like that. And there were further Marxists, there were neo-Marxists and later Marxists who joined the band. But we are right now talking about what Marxism is all about. Basically, in his time, Marx's time, when he was a German philosopher, he was a prolific writer. He has done, written so much in German language as well, which was translated later on in English. He was a very, very popular writer. and a scholar and an economist. So there are so many labels or so many caps that he wears. But he's really, his social class theory is particularly studied by the sociologists. So like Marxist ideas, basically they have played a very important part in molding some ideas of sociology, shaping sociology, particularly through an approach which is properly popularly known as Marxism. So this perspective has basically influenced our research on social class, and it continues to be to be same, and people still are benefiting from his work. So Marx says that he describes that it's a certain type of class system in the society. What he saw, what he observed in his time, there was, industrial revolution had occurred. It had actually, impacted the whole British society and elsewhere to like the whole of Europe. It has changed the economic system. Capitalism was the norm at that time, and Marx basically was not seeing there was a lot of employment. There were so many employment opportunities, factories here, there, everywhere. There were factories, industrial setups, and there was this growth of industrialization. So Marx, and seemingly in the seemingly productive thing, he saw exploitation of labor. And here he identified that there are, emerging two classes, only two classes, and they are like the one that is ruling class, or the one who owns like factories, industries, mills. They are called, in his word, he used a French word for bourgeoisie. So bourgeoisie were the ones who were the capitalists, and the other class was proletariat or the labor class. So he basically highlighted this particular type of relationship between the two classes, which he considered really exploitative. So he has talked about that. So yes, over here, two classes. According to Marx, capitalism divides society into two broad classes. Bourgeoisie, the ruling class, which owns means of production and hold economic and political power. Their wealth comes from exploiting the working class. On the other hand, there's a working class, the laborer or the proletariat, who do not own property. So like it's basically a tussle between the ruling and the working class on the basis of means of production. Who owns means of production? So he says that the proletariat do not own property and they must sell their labor to survive. So Marx basically argued that proletariat is subjected to exploitation as the bourgeoisie seek to maximize their profits by keeping wages low. He has envisioned a socialist revolution, and he saw that this would eventually transit the society. It will transform the society into communism, as a result of which a classless system will emerge where the workers will rule. So this was his prediction, which did not come to be true. There was no revolution in England. The revolution came somewhere else. This is another critique on Karl Marx, that his prediction did not prove to be true in England. It came in Russia. All right. So there's a small activity for you. If you want to do it, I'll definitely post it on the folder. Whosoever wants to use it, it's a very just a break from the lecture we were having. So you can complete the sentence using these words. According to Marx, society under dash is divided into two main classes. So like, what should be the word? Yes, capitalism. The dash own the means of production such as land and factories. Something related to capitalism. And who are they? Bourgeoisie. The upper class or the owners, they are called the bourgeoisie. The dash sell their labor to survive. Very simple. What is the bourgeoisie or the opposite of bourgeoisie? The proletariat. The laborer, the workers who sell their labor. Low wages and profit making led to dash of workers. Yes, exploitation. What else? Yes, Marx predicted that society would eventually move towards dash communism. Communism was something that he envisioned as the final destiny. Okay? I hope you are learning from this. Now, another perspective, a very important one, feminism. Now, feminism basically is all about rights for women. It's basically a perspective that is very profound. We study it, we actually take a lot of references from feminism. Feminist ideas or their takes or their viewpoints are taken very seriously in our, whatever topic we'll be studying, we'll be also taking feminist perspective. So it's a conflict theory. and a perspective which observes gender in its relation to power, both at face-to-face interaction, not only at the human-to-human interaction, but also at the broader structural level. At the core of feminist sociology, there's this idea of a particular type of way of treating women, and that is oppression. So, like, and we see that this has been a norm that the females were not treated very fairly, and there are historical references where they were dominated upon, and the men basically, they dominated, and they still, in many parts of the world, they still dominate. So this is what we call as patriarchy. Dominance of men, or male dominance, is in other words called patriarchy. So feminist activists have campaigned for women's rights such as contract law, property, voting, etc. There was this very, the earliest of all the feminists so far in the, like the known history, the name that is mostly cited by the sociologists is Mary Wollstonecraft. So she was basically the one who's considered as one of the earliest feminists. So like, yes, and so like there were movements, there were times when there were activism that was seen and observed, through which we saw a kind of a momentum or a kind of a height within the movement, and that was suffragette movement. From history, we learn that these were the ones, the rights activists for females, who contributed largely to the popularity of the movement. They gained strength in the 19th century as women demanded their voting rights. There was no political rights for women before that. So they really wanted their voting rights, the rights, and to have their own representation, their female members in the parliament. So in the UK, the Women's Social and Political Union, WSPU, it was led by, you must have heard about her, a very known activist, and her name was Evelyn Penfold. There's a movie as well. If you have come across, I'll give you the idea as well, the name as well. So she was the one who was a very, very, very strong voice. She was a very vocal voice in this regard. So by the early 20th century, suffragettes used bold and militant tactics to draw public attention. Many women faced arrests, hunger strikes, and even forced feeding for their activism. And in 1918, the Representation of People Act gave, half right, partial voting rights were given. Because of the suffragette movement, it was so impactful and so profound that the women got partial voting right. And 2 years later, 1920, finally, the 19th Amendment granted voting rights to women. I'll show you the picture. So yeah, this is the movie image, and this is the real Mrs. Emmeline Pankhurst. She was a very vocal voice, and the movie is very. If I'll get the chance, it has some violent scenes. So if I'll get the permission, I'll definitely post that as well. So like this was a movie which it was time movie. Basically, time movie means it was projecting, it was depicting a certain time period in which the suffragettes were actually struggling. They were striving for the political rights of women. This was the, I think, I don't remember her name. I don't remember her name. This is Meryl Streep. She played the role of Emily in Pankhurst. And so the main lead, the lead of the movie, she was a laundromat, and she was a she belonged to working class. And she has performed her role really well. Very powerful depiction of a, a person from working class, and that too, just sacrificing her own life for the rights, for the cause of for the political rights of female. So like it's a very, very, very strong kind of imagery that I found so far. Okay, there's no single shade of feminism. There are different types of feminism. um, by the way, it was a liberal feminist who have tried a lot, by using the legal framework, by using the legal platforms, they were able to get the rights for female. So there are three types, mainly four types basically: liberal feminism, radical feminism, Marxist feminism, and intersectional feminism. So liberal feminists basically focus on achieving gender equality through legal forums, by using the lawfare, by working and raising the voice, by using those all those judicial platforms, and in all regards, in education, work, politics. Radical feminists are very they take a very extremist position. They see patriarchy and male dominance the root cause of all female oppression, and they call for a complete overhaul of male dominance. Marxist socialists, Marxist feminists are basically the ones. They say that it's better, I mean, like the females of the upper classes are better off. They have basically internalized the patriarchy. So they are better off, and they are not as subjected or subjugated as the working class females are. So they basically work for the right of the working class. And there are other feminists as well. They see that being a woman itself is really sometimes, in many societies, it's an experience of misery, in which all things matter, like their identity as a class. If they are women, they're from working class, they're colored races, so all, it's just, you can say, just amalgamates or just compounds all sorts of problems for them. So, like, yes, all types of feminism are there. There are more, definitely. There recently there's anarchist feminists. We'll be talking about that later on. Postmodernist feminists as well. Later on, definitely. Another last, and there was this activity as well. I really wanted to do with you. Yes, this one. If you can, yes. Let me just expand it. Yes. Who is considered one of the earliest feminists? Mary Wollstonecraft. Let me just see myself. Yes. Which movement focused on women's suffrage in the UK and the USA? And that was, as I told you, I just discussed it with you, and that is suffragettes, the suffragette movement. The feminists who strive for the rights of women through legal forum. Who are those feminists who use lawfare or legal forums? I've just discussed it, and that is liberal feminist. And then define a system where men hold power. It's a general term. Now we use it, and I've used it quite repeatedly. You must have got it, this one as well. System which can be termed as male dominance too. Ta-da. Yes, patriarchy. All right. I hope I showed the correct one to you. Yes, that is true. That is right. Yes. Okay. Okay. Interactionism, last but not the least. So interactionism is basically a perspective that talks about individuals. We have talked about the perspectives like functionalism, Marxism. All those perspectives talked about structure, structure, structure all the time. Structure, system, structure, system. This perspective talks about us, individuals. So who do you think is more important? What do you think is more important, structure or who's more dominant? What's more dominant, structure or individual? Me myself as a teacher, you yourself as a student, or the structure, your school, your family, or you? Who's more important? Who's more dominant? So if there's a question, keep it in your mind, keep it as a food for thought, and then just think about it. Who's more powerful? Are the structures more important, or are the individuals more important? Okay, so interactionists basically talk about human beings, everyday relationships of human beings. How do people interact with each other? How do they learn from each other? Instead of looking the bigger system at a larger scale, or you can also call this one as micro sociology, and the other ones like Marxism and functionalism as macro sociology. So this is micro sociology. Interactionism focuses on smaller scale interactions like between individuals or social groups, for example, relationships with families, schools, or workplaces. The three very important names who are the interactionists are George Herbert Mead and C.H. Cooley and Irving Goffman. I'll be talking about these two only. Okay, so like who's more important? Your structure is more important, or who's controlling whom? There's a structure which is controlling individuals, or individuals are the ones who make system. This is a question I asked you. Okay. So, yes, George Herbert Mead gave a theory of learning that individuals basically learn through various stages in their life, in their, when the child is born in infancy, the child creates a world of his own, and this that's called the preparatory stage. Who am I? Who am I? The concept of who am I is basically is actually internalized by individual. Like early childhood involves simple imitation. The very small children, the toddlers, or they just mimic the elders, their parents or siblings, and then they learn so many things like clapping, the different gestures. So these are the symbolic aspect that they learn. It's a very early stage. The personality of a human is not developed as much. Then comes the play stage. A child learns from themselves, like with an action figure or with doors, or teaching an empty room. Invisible students are there, and there's a girl who's teaching them. So this is called a play stage, in which the child has somewhat self consciousness, that us you can say a specific sense of self is developed, in which a child is learning to grasp the meaning of the life. And then game stage, in which the child learns, this is I and this is me. Early adolescence, this is the time when the child becomes a team member. It involves participation of a child, of that individual, in an organized group. The team member, being a team member, the child, or that person learns so many roles. It's always like, what is my position vis-a-vis the others? So like, this is Mead's theory of learning or internalization, in which concept of self is developed. And the other one, Charles Cooley, he also talks about concept of self through a theory, and this theory is looking glass self, in which Cooley explains how our self identity develops through social interaction. According to him, we form our social image based on the notions of the others. How do they see us? You must be seeing, experiencing that you are very different in front of your mom. You're very different in front of your, maybe your maths teacher. You're a very different person in front of your best friend. So like, why do you change? Why do you keep on changing your image? Basically, we have this thing because we see ourselves from the lens of the others. If someone's imagery about, or image about us is positive, we are very confident. If the others judge us a lot, or they have mixed feeling, we are not pretty confident about ourselves as well. So like, this is a thing, it's like we develop feelings about ourselves based on the images or the judgment of the other. In short, we see ourselves through the mirror of others, or through the notions and perceptions of the other. Now here's a small activity again, just I'll be finishing off my lesson with this. uh, just one small thing. Answer this. According to Cooley, our self-identity develops through biology, social interaction, personal choice, or economic class, and social interaction. Is it true or false? The looking glass self suggests we form our self-image only by how we actually look in the mirror. Is it right? It's false. What's the answer? Through the image of the others, through the perception of the others. All right. Thank you so much for joining me. There is more to come after 15 days. And I enjoyed talking to you as well. Solely, definitely. No issues. But I'm hoping that more people, there'll be people who will be joining me later on. Thank you so much for joining.